woman went hiking along the Billy Goat Trail when she encountered an uncomfortable situation with a man on the path. During the interaction, the man approached her and began asking strange personal questions while they were still alone on the trail. At one point, he asked her if she considered herself a daddy's girl, claiming he was conducting a survey. The exchange continued briefly on camera, before she chose to stop recording and move away from the area.
Do you admit that you are a daddy's girl? It's a yes or no question, ma'am.
You're a freak.
Many viewers felt the interaction crossed a line, especially in such an isolated environment. So if someone makes you uncomfortable while you're alone outdoors, trust your instincts, because situations like this can go quickly from awkward to genuinely unsettling. A woman was driving alone at night when she suddenly noticed road spikes laid out across the road ahead. She slowed down and started filming the scene. The road around her was empty and poorly lit, with no clear sign of who put them there. She then realized it could be a setup to stop vehicles, possibly for theft or something more dangerous nearby. She turned around and left immediately, realizing what danger she may have been in. TikToker Ever After Aya went on a hike with her boyfriend when something unexpected happened. According to her, they started the trail together, but at some point he dumped her and left her behind. As the hike continued, she could no longer keep up or find him again. Alone in a remote area, the situation quickly became stressful. Many people online compared the story to the idea of alpine divorce, a disturbing term used to describe cases where someone is abandoned in the mountains and left to their fate, or in extreme cases, intentionally placed in danger. Just this year, an Austrian climber was convicted of manslaughter after abandoning his less experienced girlfriend on Grossglockner mountain, where she later died from hypothermia. During the investigation, it was also revealed he'd allegedly done something similar to a previous girlfriend years earlier, though she survived. Fortunately, Ever After Aya made it back safely on her own, but abandoning someone in a remote environment, especially in difficult terrain, can quickly become dangerous. A person had just gotten into their car after hiking, after feeling like they were being followed by something. Once inside, they saw what it was. It was a mountain lion. Would they have been attacked if they stayed outside? A woman was hiking alone through a quiet, isolated forest. While recording, she suddenly heard this.
Okay, what the fuck?
A long, stretched-out scream coming from deep within the trees. She described it as something that didn't sound fully human, but also didn't match any animal she could recognize. Eventually, she chose to move away from the area instead of investigating further. Was it just a known animal echoing through the forest, or something else? 2 American sisters were found deep in the woods after nearly 2 days missing in Humboldt County, California. The girls, aged 8 and 5, had reportedly wandered away from a familiar area and eventually became lost in the forest. Search teams there tracked their movement using a trail of candy wrappers they had dropped along the way. During their time in the wilderness, they survived by staying together, drinking water from natural sources like berry bushes, and relying on basic survival knowledge they had learned from their father. Eventually, they decided to stay in one place instead of continuing to move, which helped rescuers locate them after an extensive search. Authorities later confirmed they were found exhausted but alive after roughly 44 hours in the forest. Thanks to their smart decisions, they made it out. A woman named Sarah Gibbs was hiking alone on the 215-kilometer Goldfields track in regional Victoria when she experienced something deeply unsettling near Daylesford. She had been documenting her solo journey online, hoping to encourage other women to take on long-distance hiking adventures alone. But around 160 kilometers into the trail, something happened that changed the experience completely. Near Lake Daylesford, Sarah noticed movement coming from the bushes. At first, she thought it was a kangaroo. But then a man suddenly emerged and quickly approached her. Feeling uneasy, she immediately turned on her phone and began recording. She later alleged the man touched her hair and hand, used sexually explicit language, and tried guiding her away from the main path toward a more isolated area in the bush. Realizing the situation could become dangerous, she stayed calm and kept moving until they reached a nearby campsite. Then, while he was distracted, she ran. After escaping, she contacted the police. But according to Sarah, she felt the response was limited and no immediate action was taken at the scene. When she later shared her experience online, other women came forward claiming they had experienced similar encounters with a man matching the same description in the Daylesford area. After a hike, this woman returned to her car and noticed something crawling. At first, it just looked like a bright green spider. But then she looked closer. There was a pattern on its back, one that looked almost like a smiling face. The spider was later identified as a happy-faced spider, a real species known for these unusual markings. Some have clear smiley faces, while others have more abstract patterns, but the resemblance is hard to ignore. They are mostly found in Hawaii and are considered harmless, despite how strange they look. A woman was hiking alone on a small mountain trail in California's Humboldt County, a route that takes around an hour and a half to reach the summit. The area was quiet and relatively empty, with dense forest and limited visibility along parts of the path. As she neared the top, she passed a man in his 50s who was coming down the trail. After passing him, she looked back and saw the man suddenly turn around and say something like, "You came alone," before starting to run toward her. The woman immediately panicked and began running back down the mountain, switching paths and trying to stay quiet to avoid being followed. She later said she was too afraid to scream, worried it might make it easier for him to track her location. Eventually, she encountered 2 other hikers on the trail who helped escort her safely down the mountain. The man was not clearly identified, and his intentions were never fully explained. A woman was walking home on a quiet street at night when she noticed a man following her from behind. She started recording.
Yo vengo saliendo de trabajar y llevo rato viendo que esa persona que está allá.
As she kept walking, the man continued getting closer without saying anything. She eventually turned and told him to go away. But then, this happened.
¡Vete!
The woman panicked and ran away. After a few seconds, the man stopped and turned away, leaving her unharmed. A woman was returning home late at night after running errands when she started feeling like something wasn't right. The area around her felt unusually tense, so she pulled out her phone and began recording as she walked toward her house. In the background, her dog could be heard barking non-stop. As she moved the camera around, something suddenly startled her. Later, when the footage was slowed down, for just a brief moment, a dark figure could be seen, standing in the shadows. It was only visible for a second, but enough to raise questions. Some believe it could have been a person, others think it might be shadows or lighting, creating the illusion of a figure. So was there really someone there, or did her instincts react to something that wasn't actually there? While exploring Gettysburg, this woman took multiple photos of the area. Most of them didn't capture anything unusual, but one photo stood out. She later shared it on Facebook. In the image, something can be seen between a tree and a bush on the left side. A white, translucent figure, almost resembling a person standing there. Some believe she may have captured something paranormal, while others think it could be light, shadow, or a camera artifact. So what do you see? During a hike deep in the woods, this woman captured something unusual. The footage shows a humanoid figure standing behind a tree. At first it barely moves, then suddenly the figure launches itself upward onto a high tree branch in one fast motion, reaching a height that would be difficult for a normal person to achieve without help. What makes the clip unsettling is how smooth the movement looks, almost effortless, with no visible hesitation. Some people believe it could be a person using momentum, editing, or a misleading camera angle. Others think the movement simply doesn't look natural. A Russian person shared footage on VK video showing a terrifying night while camping alone in the wild. Take a look. The person stayed inside while recording, realizing how thin the barrier was between them and two fully grown wild animals. Eventually, the bears backed off after repeated failed attempts, but that was an extremely close call. A couple was hiking through a dense forest early in the morning when their walk started to feel different. At first, they ignored small sounds like twigs snapping and leaves moving, assuming it was just normal wildlife. But the noises kept following them, staying consistent as they moved deeper into the trees. They began noticing movement between the bushes, something large enough to suggest it wasn't a small animal. What was following them? Something dangerous? Luckily, they made it out safely. A young Russian couple was exploring the abandoned Chernobyl forest when they decided to set up camp after a long day of walking through the overgrown terrain. Then, around midnight, the atmosphere changed completely.
Серый, вставай. Слушай, идет кто-то через кусты. Сейчас фонарь потушу. Слышишь? Ветки ломаются.
At first they thought it might be wildlife, but the movement didn't sound random. Both of them stayed completely still, listening as it moved around them in the dark.
Может, это менты? Мы уже просто все, если это менты, все знают. Сейчас мы едем домой сразу. Нас сейчас же забирают.
Почему, если бы это менты? Они бы уже здесь были. Что у них без фонарей, без ничего? По лесу ходят, что ли?
И типа...
Сейчас мы уже палатки.
Они бы уже зашли, да.
Есть люди. Тихо.
After several tense minutes, the sound eventually faded into the forest.
Ладно, похуй на эту палатку, блядь. Там еда, сука, вся осталась. Нам нужна возвышенность какая-то.
Вроде никого.
Нет, вроде окей, все.
When they finally stepped outside, there were no visible tracks or signs of anything having been there at all. So what was circling their tent that night? A 57-year-old woman was hiking in the mountains when she was confronted by a nearby landowner who believed she was trespassing on his property. The man then called the police.
We feel that we're threatened. We've got her on video as well. Please, it's an emergency.
It is not an emergency. I'm on the trip.
The woman recorded part of the interaction before deciding to stop filming and leave the area.
You're very threatened. Thank you.
You're not
Thank you.
threatened.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Later, when authorities arrived, they determined there was no criminal trespass. Instead, the neighbor was cited for disorderly conduct due to how the situation escalated. He later issued a public apology for the incident. A young woman was walking through an underground tunnel when she noticed a man behind her.
Alright, just to update you, it was just one guy over there.
The tunnel was empty, and it was just the two of them. Not knowing his intentions, she took out her phone and began recording, talking to the camera as she made her way toward the exit. She later said she wasn't sure if he was just a person or something worse. As she got closer to the end of the tunnel, she picked up her pace and finally made it out safely. Later, it turned out the man was just a normal person who tried to catch up because he found her interesting. Which, honestly, still sounds super inappropriate and scary. Facebook user Stephen Wilson got this video from his friend who was on a camping trip in Australia. As the woman reached for the handle, she felt something odd. She asked someone else nearby to help and started recording.
It's bloody super spider. Oh, Jesus.
A spider leg could be seen sticking out from the door handle area, and not a small one. Always check your car handles, I guess. A homeowner felt like she was being watched for several days. She started noticing a strange presence outside her home at night, especially when she stepped outside or scanned the area with a light. Then she caught this on camera. Each time the light moved toward them, the figures seemed to disappear or shift out of view. It could simply be wildlife like coyotes or other nocturnal animals moving around the area, but viewers felt the behavior seems too deliberate. There were also suggestions linking it to various cryptid-type theories, though nothing in the video confirms anything beyond the eyes themselves. A woman returned home one day and immediately noticed her dogs barking non-stop. As she started recording, a faint sound could be heard in the background. It sounded like a woman crying. When it was later uploaded online, some connected it to the legend of La Llorona, a figure said to wander at night crying. Others believe it sounds more like an animal call. A woman was hiking alone in the mountains of India when a man approached her, asking for a photo. She politely declined and told him to stop following her. But he continued to trail her along the path, ignoring her requests.
A picture. I don't want to take a picture with you. Can you stop following me?
The footage captures the tension as the woman tries to keep her distance, while the man never strays far behind. Some suggest it could have been a misunderstanding, while others feel his persistence hints that his intentions were not just to take a photo. While walking through a quiet neighborhood, this person began noticing something strange appearing on lampposts and street corners. It looked like an ordinary flyer, but once they read it, things took a strange turn. It advertised a job offering $100 a day. The role asked for someone to pretend to be a patient, lying in a bed while a woman fed them, dressed them, and cared for them as if they were completely bedridden. The flyer even showed an image of several men lying side by side in what looked like hospital beds, with one empty spot waiting to be filled. No official company name, no clear explanation, just a number to call. Was this just a strange job offer, or something much more disturbing happening behind closed doors? A female hiker in Mill Creek Canyon shared a terrifying experience that left her hesitant to return to one of her favorite trails. Early one Sunday morning, she was walking with her dog when a man approached. At first he seemed harmless, asking to pet her dog and even reading its name from the tag. But soon, things changed. The man began following her,
saying my dog's name, trying to get them to come over to the other side of the creek,
hiding in the bushes and repeatedly calling her dog's name, trying to lure it to the other side of the creek. Despite her requests for him to stop, he continued. Realizing the situation was escalating and that she was in an isolated area with no cell phone service, she quickly put her dog on a leash and turned back toward her car. Thankfully, she made it out unharmed, but things could have ended very differently. A woman was swimming along the rugged Pacific coastline when she was swept away by a strong current, eventually reaching the rocky edge in a desperate bid for safety. She clung to the steep cliff, waves crashing violently 70 feet below her, unable to find stable footing. A nearby helicopter recorded every tense moment as rescue crews sprang into action. A firefighter rappelled down the cliff, securing ropes and guiding her carefully. After a nerve-wracking climb, the hero held onto her until she could be safely lifted to the cliff top, where other rescuers awaited. Luckily, the woman made it out unharmed. But if the rescuers hadn't arrived in time, the situation could have gotten worse. A woman was hiking when she came across this weird scene. A group of ants were moving in a strange circular pattern on the ground. The behavior is known as an ant mill or death spiral, where ants can end up stuck following pheromone trails in a continuous circle with no clear exit. Some say it's a rare but natural navigation error in ant colonies. It's unsettling how something so simple can trap them in an endless loop of movement for the rest of their lives. A woman in North America was on her way to a hike when she noticed something unusual. Resting on the ground in the distance was a massive, smooth sphere. The object appeared perfectly rounded, almost unnatural against the landscape. People quickly compared it to similar sightings reported in other countries. where strange spherical objects had appeared under unclear circumstances. Some believe it could be experimental technology or some kind of surveillance device. Others think it resembles objects often linked to unidentified phenomena. But without any clear explanation, the sight left people questioning what it really was. This video may be over, but the terrifying encounters continue.